What's up everyone, we're going to be going to the best NBA player props on PrizePicks today. Now don't forget to like this video as it does let me know to continue to give you free picks every day. So make sure to like this video clicking that button down below. And if we get 600 likes, I will do another video for tomorrow. Now I did want to show you the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group. And as you guys see, we actually got 22 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. Now a lot of you comment wanting to see how many I got wrong, and I thought I'd show you in today's video. We only got one pick wrong, got 22 right, which is a 98% win rate. Yes, guys, you heard that right. 98% win rate. So we're in a huge hot streak, but if you want to get a 98% win rate and get 22 picks right like me, win more bets and receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon. Should be a link down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure to join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $515 just yesterday. Another member who won $1,200 for the 5th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, the link will be in the description. So go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group. And I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel the best bets and props. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. So quick shout to SSME who said 17k with the mind blow emoji. Shouts out to Stevia32 who spammed up the love heart emoji, and shouts out to Terry McCain 2039 who said I should have taken your advice on BAM. So unlucky there, but still shouts out to all of them. And if you do want to win a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below on this video and like it, and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. Alright, so let's get straight into the first pick. And when it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we're talking about is LeBron James for 24.5 points, and this one actually is for less. Now looking at LeBron, we actually have seen him go in the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. Looking at those 5 games, you see on December 26th, faced off against Houston Rockets, actually had 18 points there. December 29th, faced off against Sacramento Kings, had 24 points. Then December 31st, faced off against Detroit Pistons, had 17 points in that matchup. Then faced off against Memphis Grizzlies, had 31 points on January 3rd, and then 26 points against Memphis Grizzlies again off a back-to-back on January 5th. So we have actually seen him, as I mentioned, go on the under in 3 out of the last 5. What we also do see is that his average over the last 5 is 23.2. So slightly on the under in that sense. Now, looking at LA Lakers, they do have themselves a very good matchup against none other than actually the New Orleans Pelicans. So it is definitely going to be an exciting game between both of these teams. Now, looking at where both of these teams do actually lie, starting off with the LA Lakers. LA Lakers have had quite a hot hand as of lately because they actually have moved themselves up in the Western Conference as they actually rank 3rd in the Western Conference there. Now, they actually have a record of 22 wins and also 11 losses. That's a 66.7% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 10-6 from home, 12-5 from away, and are currently on a 2-game win streak. So very interesting to see from them. Obviously, Lakers are, on a little bit of a win streak, and it has definitely helped them go up the rankings pretty quickly. But they face off against a New Orleans Pelicans team that are on the other side of the table because they are also in the Western Conference. However, they rank 15th. So they are actually the last team in the Western Conference here. They have a record of 8 wins, and 29 losses. So 8 wins, 29 losses, just to confirm. 21.6% win percentage there. They're also 6-16 from home, 2-13 from away, and are currently on a 7-game losing streak. So it has definitely been tough a little bit for the New Orleans Pelicans. So coming into this matchup, Pelicans are definitely going to try to give it their all. And looking at where the New Orleans Pelicans do lie, we do see when it comes to points allowed, we see that the Pelicans come in at the 28th spot, actually, scoring or averaging 123.1 points. So, they actually do allow 123.1 points, which ranks them 28th. So they do rank pretty low. So why do we like the under for someone like LeBron James? And a big reason for this is that when we actually look at New Orleans Pelicans, we actually see them do a fantastic job at restricting points to LeBron's position. And because of that, we definitely see him going on the under here. When we also look at LeBron's usage rate, it has been a little bit on the lower side as of lately. Now, yes, he has gone on the over twice lately, but they were against the same team, and Memphis do allow a lot of points to, LeBron's position, and also allow a lot of points in general. So because of that, we have seen LeBron do well in those two, but when he faces off against much tougher matchups on a per position basis, we definitely see him struggle as we look at those first 3 games out of the last 5. So I do believe those Memphis matchups did actually push this line a little bit too high, that now there's a lot more value actually to go on the under. Now, looking at the matchup between Lakers and New Orleans Pelicans, we do also know, looking at New Orleans Pelicans, what they like to do when it comes to the defensive strategies. They do like to focus in on stars and try to restrict them as much as they can. So coming into this game, we are definitely expecting LeBron to get restricted as much as he can, and New Orleans Pelicans are going to rely on other players in this Lakers team to do a lot more of the scoring. So I definitely am expecting a lot of the attention to be on Luka if he does play, be on LeBron, be on AR if he does play, and because of that, we are expecting them to actually score less in this matchup. Now, when we look at what the pros do say, so obviously we have him for 24.5, while they actually have him for 23.5. So obviously it is a little bit different there, but looking at this, we do also know when it actually comes to their projection, they actually have him projected for 19.8. So that actually works out in our favor there. Obviously we have him projected for the under as well. So we are matching with the pros projections in that sense. And looking at 24.5 and where that does lie, we do actually see that, he has gone on the under more than he's gone on the over just slightly. So he's gone on the over in 46%. So, looking at that, he's pretty much been on the under in 54% of those games roughly. So that definitely does check out for us there. So overall, we do very, very much like the under for this one for LeBron James, and we definitely see him going on the under here. So LeBron James, 24.5 points for less, I think is a fantastic pick. All right, so getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about none other than Trey Johnson. So Trey Johnson, another great player, and this one is for 19.5 points, rebounds, and assists, or PRA, and this one actually is for more. Now, looking at Trey Johnson, we actually have seen him go on the over in 1 out of the last 5 games. Looking at those 5 games, you see on December 29th, faced off against Memphis Grizzlies, had 18 points, rebounds, and assists there. Then had 27 points, rebounds, and assists against Phoenix on December 30th. Then January 1, faced off against Milwaukee Bucks, had 18 points, rebounds, and assists. Then 18 PRA against Brooklyn Nets on January 3rd. And then against Minnesota Timberwolves on January 5th, and had 19 PRA there. So we have actually seen Trey Johnson go on the over, as I mentioned, in 1 out of the last 5, and his average over the last 5 is actually 20, so it is slightly above this line for sure. Now, coming into this matchup, we do also see that Washington Wizards have themselves a very, very good matchup against none other than Orlando Magic. So it is definitely going to be an exciting matchup between both of these teams. But looking at where both these teams do lie, starting off with, obviously, Washington Wizards, we do actually see that Washington do come in at the actual 14th spot in the conference. Now, they've definitely struggled quite a bit. They've definitely struggled here, because they have 9 wins, 25 losses to their name, and on top of that, they also have a 26.5% win percentage. 5-12 from home, 4-13 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So it definitely has been a little bit of a struggle for them there. And when it actually comes to this, Washington Wizards team, they are trying their best to get back into a better situation. Now they face off against Orlando Magic, where Orlando are doing very much better as they come in at the 6th spot in the Eastern Conference. Now they have a record of 20 wins and 16 losses. So they've had a great record, 55.6% win percentage there. And on top of that, we also do see that they are 12-5 from home, 8-10 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So very, very good to see from them when it comes to Orlando. Now looking at actually Orlando Magic and where they do rank defensively, we do see something pretty interesting because points, rebounds, and assists allowed going through all 3. Starting off with points allowed, we see that Orlando Magic come in at the 13th spot, actually allowing 115.4 points per game. So they don't really allow a lot of points there. Looking at the next one, we do see an assist allow. We see that Orlando Magic come in at the 8th spot, only allowing 25.3 assists per game. So they've definitely done a fantastic job there. And then rebounds allowed, Orlando also do rank, somewhat decent as they rank 13th, and also allow 43.6 rebounds per game. So Orlando Magic do a fantastic job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists. So why do we like the over for this situation? And a big reason being is that when we actually look at Trey Johnson, we do actually see him going on the over, because when we look on a per position basis, we see a very different story. Orlando Magic do very much struggle against Trey Johnson's position, and we definitely see him going on the over here. Now, Trey over the last couple of games has definitely missed this line, but he's only missed it very slightly, sometimes by 0.5 or even 1.5. So we definitely see that he has the consistency to get close to this level. And I do believe coming into this next game where Orlando do struggle against his, position, we should see him be able to go on the over here. Now, when we look at Washington and Orlando as well, a lot of people were expecting that Orlando would actually slow down the pace of Washington, but we are actually expecting the opposite. We are expecting Washington Wizards to come into this matchup and actually speed up the pace of this game and actually have Orlando come to their pace. So a faster paced game always leads to more volume and more opportunity to score, rebound, and also play make. So for that reason, I definitely would keep an eye out for the over for someone like Trey Johnson. Now, when we look at what the pros do have to say about it, obviously we have him for 19.5 for the over. So they have a different line. And as I've always mentioned, these are the picks that I'm trying to, look out for, the ones where you see a little bit of the difference between the bookies and prize picks, because that's where we actually get the most value. But it is kind of difficult to go off, the bookies and listen to what they say here, because it is a bit of a different line. But I would say when you look at the projection, they have him projected for 15.6. So we are going against that. We are going for the over for this one. That's why we do very, very much like the over for this one. A big reason as well on top of this that we have seen Trey Johnson when it comes to his, game out there. We definitely have seen him take on a much, much bigger role as of lately, getting a little bit more minutes. Yes, his stats haven't actually translated just as much just yet, but I do believe he's starting to get a little bit more volume out there, a lot more of a bigger role. So we definitely should see that start to play out, especially in this next game against Orlando Magic. Now, yes, he has struggled to go on the over, only going on the over in 2 out of the last 15 games. So like I mentioned before, we are going a little bit against the grain here, but we are very confident for the over for someone like Trey Johnson coming into this matchup. The Trey Johnson, 19.5 points, rebounds, and assists for more, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting into the next pick, we're going to be talking about Evan Mobley. So Evan Mobley, another great player. Now this one is for 27.5 points and rebounds, and this one actually is for more. So looking at actually Evan Mobley, we have actually seen him go on the over in 0 out of the last 5 games. Now looking at those 5 games, we see on December 28th, faced off against Houston Rockets, had 8 points and rebounds there. Then December 30th, faced off against San Antonio Spurs, had 23 points and rebounds. Then 26 points and rebounds against Phoenix on January 1st. January 3rd, faced off against Denver, had 19 points and rebounds. And then 19 points and rebounds against Detroit on January 5th. So it has been a little bit of a tough time for Evan Mobley for sure, but he has definitely faced off against very, very tough matchups over the last 5. Now his average over the last 5 is also 19, which is interesting to see, but Cleveland Cavaliers do have themselves a very good matchup for him, facing off against Indiana Pacers. Now looking at where both these teams do lie, starting off with Cleveland. Cleveland have done a pretty solid job so far this season, but they have fallen just a little bit in their ranking, because currently they rank 8th in the Eastern Conference. They have 20 wins, 17 losses. That's a 54.1% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 13-9 from home, 7-8 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So definitely been pretty interesting to see. Now, obviously, looking at Cleveland, they face off against a much easier matchup, which is Indiana Pacers. No disrespect to any Pacers fans out there, but they do rank a little bit less in that sense. Now, Pacers do not only rank that, but they also have 6 wins, 30 losses under their belt, a 16.7% win percentage there. So it's definitely been a bit of a struggle for them for sure. Now, coming into this matchup, we do also see that they have a record of 5-14 from home, 1-16 from away, and are currently on a 12-game losing streak. So yes, unfortunately, it has been very, very tough for this Indiana Pacers team, and they are hoping to see if they can start getting a little bit more wins on the board. But looking at it more in depth, we do also know when it comes to actually Indiana Pacers defensively, we do actually see Indiana Pacers do rank when it comes to points allowed. They do rank pretty low. They rank 24th, actually at 24th, only or kind of allowing 119.7 points per game. So they do allow a lot of points there, one of the worst, unfortunately. And then rebounds allowed, we also do see that the Pacers rank pretty poorly, ranking 28th, and also allow 47.5 rebounds per game. So they allow quite a lot of rebounds, quite a lot of points. So why do we like the over for this situation here? I think it's very obvious. Indiana Pacers are just a poor defensive team. And on top of that, they are also a very poor team at defending, points and rebounds to the actual center position. So for that reason, we are definitely expecting the over for this situation here. Now, when we look at Evan Mobley over the last 5, yes, he has struggled. However, if you see the teams he has played against, he has versed some of the top teams when it comes to defense and some of the top teams when it comes to defense to the center position. Houston, Spurs, Phoenix, Denver, Detroit. All these teams are very, very highly intensive defensive teams. And because of that, coming into this next matchup, we do believe that this line now is a little bit too low, and now there's a lot more value actually to go on the over. So for that reason, I do very much like the over for someone like Evan Mobley coming into this game. He's had 5 tough games. Now he is a much, much easier matchup, and we should see him kind of get through this game in a very much a breeze type situation, because when we look at Indiana, not only do they do a poor job at restricting points and rebounds to the center position, but the pace that Indiana Pacers do like to run is very, very fast. So they do like to push the pace quite a lot. On top of that, we are always saying that, the faster the pace, more pace leads to more volume, and more volume leads to more opportunity to score and rebound. So we definitely see that happening to Evan Mobley there. Now, looking at what the pros do have to say, so obviously we have him for, as I mentioned, 27.5. They actually have him for 28.5, so similar to what we've mentioned before, 28.5. We can't really go off or hear what the bookies have to say because it is a different line there. But what we are also seeing is that the projection they have for him is 28.3 for points and rebounds. Now, it does say here under, but technically for our line, as we have him for actually 27.5, we have him for the over. So that is a big, big reason why we do very much like the over for this situation here. We definitely are expecting the over and are agreeing with the projection, in this case, since, obviously the bookies have a bit of a different line. So as I've always mentioned, these are the types of picks I want to look out for. I see a lot of value there on Prize Picks, getting it at 27.5, which is why I do like the over for it. And when we look at the last 15 games, yes, we have seen him go on the over in 40% of those matchups. Could it be better? Yes, but as I mentioned, he has faced off against tougher teams, and where you actually see where he does struggle is against much tougher matchups. So coming into this next one, we do very, very much like the over for this one for someone like Evan Mobley. So Evan Mobley, 27.5 points and rebounds, 4 more, I think is a fantastic pick. All right, so let's get straight into the next one, and we're going to be talking about Alex Sarr. So Alex Sarr, great player, but this one is for 27.5 points, rebounds, and assists, or PRA, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Alex Sarr, we have seen him go on the under in 2 out of the last 5 games. Looking at those 5 games, we do see on December 29th, faced off against Memphis Grizzlies, actually had 30 points, rebounds, and assists there. December 30th, faced off against Phoenix Suns, had 8 points, rebounds, and assists in that matchup. January 1st, faced off against Milwaukee Bucks, had 33 points, rebounds, and assists. Then January 3rd, faced off against Brooklyn Nets, had 28 points, rebounds, and assists. Then 14 PRA against Minnesota Timberwolves on January 5th. So when we look at Alex Sarr and the Washington Wizards, we do know that his average over the last 5 is 22.6. So, under this line for sure. But we have mentioned this matchup before, but Washington Wizards do face off against Orlando Magic. Now, just to remind you all again real quickly where both of these teams do rank, starting off with actually Orlando. We do know, we'll start off with Wizards. Wizards rank 14th in the Eastern Conference, so they are the second last team in the Eastern Conference NBA, and also have 9 wins, 25 losses. So that's a 26.5% win percentage there. On top of that, they also are also 5-12 from home, 4-13 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. And they face off against Orlando Magic, who do rank 6th and also have a record of 20 wins, 16 losses, a 55.6% win percentage there, 12-5 from home, 8-10 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So very, very interesting to see. So coming into this matchup, we definitely have seen that when it actually comes to, Alex Sarr, facing off against Orlando team, they do face off an Orlando team that do rank, starting off with points allowed. They do actually rank 13th, actually only allowing 115.4 points per game. Now we have touched on this, but as I mentioned, just a quick reminder, they rank 8th as well in assists allowed, only allowing 25.3 assists per game. On top of that, rebounds allowed, they also do only allow, they rank 13th and also only allow 43.6 rebounds per game. So coming into this matchup, it is definitely going to be a very intense one, but looking at Orlando's defense, it definitely is a very, very tight defensive team, and for that reason, that is a big reason why we do like the under for this one. Now, when we look at Orlando, we also do see that they do a fantastic job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the center position. So that's a big reason why we do very much like the under for this situation here. For someone like Alex Sarr, we have definitely seen him do a fantastic job time and time again. But coming into this next one, as we've always mentioned, matchups, that's what's most important. And with an intense matchup like this, we definitely see him going on the under here. Now, when we also look at Orlando Magic and the matchup against Washington, we do also know, not only on a per position basis, but we have seen Alex Sarr, his usage rate, yes, he has gone on the over at times, but it has definitely been a little bit, I would say, unpredictable. There are some games where he does very well, other games he does poorly, and even the times he's gone on the over, he hasn't really gone over on a very, I would say, convincing sort of basis. He only makes it over just slightly, so that's why coming into this next one, especially against a tougher matchup, we definitely see him going on the under here. So for that reason, definitely keep an eye out for the under for someone like Alex Sarr here. Now, when we look at what the pros do have to say, so we have him for, as we mentioned before, 27.5. Similar situation where the bookies have a little bit of a different line. They have him for 26.5 while we have him for 27. So a bit of a different line there. But also looking at that, we also do know, looking at what the bookies are saying, it is very difficult to go off that because obviously it is a different line. But looking at the projection, we see that they have him projected for 25.7 points, rebounds, and assists. That is still on the under. So we are actually agreeing with the projection there. So for that reason, we do very much like the under for this one. Now, when we look at his last 15 games, we do see that he has done a pretty decent job, in those last 15. He's gone on the under in only 40% of those matchups for sure. But we do also see that the times he has gone on the over was against much easier teams. So, even though Wizards are losing, they have had a little bit of an easier sort of matchup over the last couple of, games in these last 15. And he has been able to take advantage of it. But where you see Sarr going the under is definitely against tougher matchups. So that's why coming into this next one, we do very, very much like the under for someone like Alex Sarr here. So Alex Sarr, 27.5 points, rebounds, and assists for less, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about Jaylon Tyson. So you may have heard of him, may have not, but this one is for 21.5 points and rebounds, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Jaylon Tyson, we have seen him go on the under in 4 out of the last 5 games. So looking at those last 5, we see on December 28th, faced off against Houston, had 38 points and rebounds in that matchup. Then December 30th, faced off against the San Antonio Spurs, had 14 points, rebounds in that matchup. Then January 1st, faced off against Phoenix Suns, had 20 points and rebounds in that matchup. January 3rd, faced off against Denver, had 13 points and rebounds. Then 13 points and rebounds against Detroit on January 5th. So we have actually seen Jaylon Tyson go on the under, as I mentioned, in 4 out of the last 5 games. But looking at actually Cleveland, we do actually see that they have themselves a very good matchup against the Indiana Pacers. As we mentioned before, we have touched on this lineup before, but just to quickly remind you again, Cleveland Cavaliers do come in at the 8th spot when it comes to, the Eastern Conference. They've done a very, very good job there. They actually have a record of 20 wins, 17 losses, a 54.1% win percentage, and are also 13-9 from home, 7-8 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So very, very interesting to see there. Now they do actually face off against none other than Indiana Pacers, as we mentioned. And looking at Indiana come in a different situation because they currently rank 15th in the actual Eastern Conference, and they have a record of 6 wins and 30 losses. So that's a 16.7% win percentage there. When we also look further, we also do know they're 5-4 at home, 1-16 from away, and are currently on a 12-game losing streak. So it definitely has been, a little bit tough for them due to the fact that we have also seen that Indiana came from coming to the finals last season to now this. So it's definitely been a little bit of a struggle for them. But coming into this matchup, we do also see, looking at Indiana Pacers defensively, starting off with points allowed. Obviously, this is a points and rebounds line, but starting off with points allowed, we do see that Indiana Pacers do rank 24th in points, allowing 119.7 points per game. And then rebounds allowed, we see that Pacers in a similar situation as they rank 28th, actually allowing 47.5 rebounds per game. So they do allow a lot of rebounds, do allow a lot of points. So why do we like the under for this situation? And that's due to the fact that Indiana Pacers do a fantastic job against Jaylon Tyson's position. Now, not only that, but what we also do know about Jaylon Tyson is that he has definitely struggled at being able to hit this line. And this is definitely due to multiple reasons. We have seen Jaylon Tyson, his actual, sort of, I would say, usage rate out there, the minutes he is getting has been a little bit on the lower side. And because of that, it's definitely had a huge effect on Jaylon Tyson. Now, he has definitely struggled to hit this line consistently. So we are also expecting that the usage rate of Jaylon, we are expecting to be similar to what we have seen from him over the last 4 games. He's definitely struggled there, and that on top of the fact that Indiana actually do a really good job against his position, we definitely see him going on the under here. Now, some of the games where we have seen Tyson go on the over was due to the fact that there were injuries or people sitting out in that game. Unfortunately, no disrespect to Tyson, but he isn't really the main player for this team. And with everyone seeming to be healthy for this game, we are, or mainly some of the main players, we are expecting Tyson's usage rate to definitely take a big hit and to be sacrificed for some of the star players that will be playing. So, for this Cleveland team, we don't really expect too much from Tyson as well, on top of Indiana doing a pretty good job defensively. Now, looking at the points and rebounds line, so obviously we have him for 21.5. The bookies here have him for 20, so it is a different line, as we've always mentioned. Can't really go off what the bookies are saying due to the fact that it is a different line. What we do see is that the projection is 19.3. So that projection is very, very interesting because we do actually see Jaylon Tyson has gone or it will go on the under based off the projections here. What we also do see when it comes to this actual line as well is that when we look at his last 15 games, he's actually gone on the under more than he's gone on the over. So it's definitely another telltale sign to us there. But overall, coming into this matchup, we are definitely expecting Tyson to be a little bit on the lower side when it comes to usage rate due to the fact that unfortunately he isn't really a superstar player for this team, and especially against a team like Indiana, who, yes, they have struggled just a little bit. We do still know that they do a great job against his position. So all these things being said, we do or are sticking to the under for this one. So Jaylon Tyson, 21.5 points and rebounds for less, I think is a fantastic pick.